So today I'm joined by Alex. Alex, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. I'm always here.
Yeah, no, you're somebody that I've worked with a lot at New Wave because you do so much recording for us. So I know you mentioned in your promo that you do media. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do at New Wave?
So we do a lot of content creating. Some of the stuff that, for example, like the talk show that we're doing, and also the I Am New Wave. I do a lot of like the back end, so setting up all the special equipment that we have, all the microphones, lights, cameras, and everything, and also leading a team of a couple great guys that are also doing everything as well. So making sure that they're doing okay, making sure that they don't get too burnt out, making sure they're fed with a bunch of coffee so they can keep running.
Exactly. God bless you. I think that your team is actually one of the unsung heroes of New Wave and formerly Ignite, because when we were in the pandemic, it was literally, people may not know this, but it was just you and your team that was recording all of the sermons on a weekly basis, as well as the worship. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like?
Oh man. Well, it all started because of like a need of bringing service online and making sure that people are able to, in some small way, find community in something as small as Sunday service. So I would say it took a lot of time during the weekend and even like leading up to the actual service. We had to do like a lot of like recording, like as we know, the recording for sermon, recording for worship, and even recording for like the announcements that they have. So yeah, it was how long has COVID pandemic been? Since like 2020, so maybe like 2 years, maybe like a year and a half of doing it. So it's just like so much, I would say a lot of time invested, but also in a good way because I was able to invest in the teams that are there as well, getting to know them off camera and just talking, chatting, eating with them, and also getting to know all the different pastors that are coming to speak to us. Like I got to know Jason even more. I got to know Kwok a little bit more, and just like all the different pastors as well.
How much time do you think, just so people understand, like how much time like did you and your team have to put into the recording, the editing, and all of that just to get service online for everybody on a weekly basis?
So I think probably a lot of people don't know that that we record the week before the actual like playing or like the premiere for service. So I remember laying out all of the hours that I placed into just like my week to week. So during my time of doing the live service, I was also working at the foundation as well. So I like calculated everything out with a friend of mine, and we both came to the conclusion that I was working maybe about 65 hours per week. Half of it was to the foundation, the other half was to doing the recording itself. And it was also a lot of crunch time as well. Like, even though we record the week before, that was only for worship. For sermon, I had to turn that over and complete everything within like a 24-hour, 48-hour period. And a lot of time also goes into uploading as well because it's such a big file. And uploading and making sure that there's no issues. If there's any issues, then I have to correct last minute. There are like a few instances. I don't know if the audience has ever noticed or like I've seen, but like there's one time where like the audio for worship got cut out, and I was like super stressed sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I like ruined everything. Like there's no audio at all. There's no worship or anything. Like, what am I gonna do? Another day, like I cut into this scene where it wasn't supposed to be public. It was like the back, like the bloopers and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say a lot of time, a lot of stress, but
A lot of stress. But I think that people on the other side, they probably didn't see it. So
well, I'm glad. It was definitely a fun experience. Stressful a lot of time, but I think I learned a lot about what it takes to produce a lot of high level production and how much work and how much last minute things and how much adapting that it takes in order to do that sort of stuff. And I think that it also helped me in growing as well and learning how to adapt well, and also learning how to plan well as well, and learning how to work with different people. And also, I think one big personal thing is learning how to ask for help as well.
That's a good one because I think so many of us get caught up in our things, and I don't know if it's like our pride or just the fact that we don't want to ask for help. But I'm also somebody that's like that. So can you share like what was that catalyst where you're just like, okay, I need to ask for help, or it's okay for me to even go about doing that?
Yeah. I'll like backtrack a little bit. Like when I was growing up, I'm like a middle child. So it's like the stereotypical middle child is like they get left to their own devices, or they like get deserted, or like they get left alone. So I took that and I used that to grow in where I become independent and where I can do everything myself. So they say like the whole saying like jack of all trades, master of none. I think the other half of it is master of none is better than just a master of one, which means that if I know how to do everything, then I can do it well, whether I need people or not. But then the other side of that is that you'll get so accustomed to doing it by yourself that you'll just, in a sense, or probably in some sort of season, you'll suffer alone. And so I had to go through that whole thing and just learning how to ask for help would be when, like I said, like working 65 hours a week for like an hour a week, for like a year and a half. I think that like gets to you.
Totally.
Like I can only imagine the only thing like that I've talked to other people who are like accountants, but they only do that for like what 3 or 4 months out of the year. But I did that for a year and a half straight. And on top of that, I was either working overnight or I was working until like the twilight times, like 3 or 4 a.m. just to get things done. But I guess like going back to like how did I learn how to ask for help? I think it's just having a good support system, but also having people who like you work with that can carry the load. But the other side of that, which is introspective, is knowing that and accepting that people are not always going to live up to the highest expectation that you have or the standard that you have. And that's okay, because either one, there's like a learning curve to learning all the stuff that you yourself may have learned, which is like maybe a lot, maybe a little bit, or whatever. But it's learning how to be okay with mistakes, but also learning how to speak up for yourself, which I think that like Asian Americans don't know, or we're accustomed to not speaking up for ourselves. But I think that in this generation, it's changing a lot. And I think that it's good that people are doing that with themselves, is learning how to speak up in where you want to be better or you want to have a sort of balance.
Wow. I feel like you did learn a lot in that last year and a half. And a lot of that was just really good things that we all need to like learn and do for ourselves in our lives. So I think that you guys are the unsung heroes of the time. And, you know, if people don't thank you enough, they should. You know, we all should, because you really kind of kept us going, you and your team.
Yep. Shout out to Michael and Sam.
I know. They're like the best.
Amazing.
I know. So you're involved in media, but you have to have like some skill, like personal skills, to even begin to go into media. And I think from what I know about you, it probably started with photography, if I'm not wrong. Is that true?
What do you mean by personal skills?
Like you can't do media unless you have a skill in like photo, audio, like video or something, right? Like what is that, the initial skill that you have? Is it photography? Is it, yeah.
Yeah, I started because I would say in high school, I had this like photography teacher, and that's where my like passion for photography started. So I started with like still photos, and then I slowly moved into videography as a sort of like a new, I guess, new depths that I've never reached before. Usually I would just do photos and that's it. But I think that videography was such a, it was a little bit daunting for me because there's so many different aspects that you have to put together in order to create a cohesive, but also like a storytelling. So you have to know how to like storytell. You also have to know the different angles. But then on top of the angles, you have to make sure that everything in the video like fits, or if it doesn't fit, then you have to know how to cut to different angles. But then on top of that, you also have to make sure your audio is doing well. And then on top of just the normal audio, you usually layer in like music, so you have to find the correct music. So it's just like so many different things that,
Layers,
yep,
yeah.
you have to add them all in together in order to make it a good video.
I always wondered, like when you record video, or not you, but anybody, like you record video and then people always have like a separate audio recording. How do you make sure that they're synced up exactly? Is there something in a program that's like almost a magnetic connection where it just knows where the sound is? And because, like sometimes when you watch music videos, especially Asian ones, like it doesn't match up. And I'm like, you are a professional production. Like, why is it not matching up? Right. So how does that happen in the back end?
So
Probably a silly question, but
no. Every question has. So I would say that you have to have good ingredients to make a good dish. So which means that you have to have good audio when you're doing the recording. So for sometimes we'll have, if we have like a separate audio and a separate video, we'll have to in some way stitch it together or to time it well. So I think that the terminology is called like an anchor point, or maybe it's just my terminology that I'm going to start implementing or start creating and stuff. But you have to start well with some sort of like thing or like marker in the beginning where it'll line everything up. So for example, what we usually do is that we'll start the recording separately, audio and video, and then we'll clap so that the audio in this microphone and also audio in the video camera is all synced together. And then we'll use technology and AI and software and stuff like that in order to stitch it in really well.
Cool. You mentioned that you started off with photography and now you're doing video, maybe because of New Wave, maybe not. Between the two, and I know they're similar, but they serve different purposes, right? Do you have a preference of doing photo or video?
That's a good question. I think it depends on why I'm doing it, I guess. Photography has always been the foundation for me. And I learned a lot about all of the foundational basics. The basics that is in photography, but I think photography is like a stepping stone for videography. Because like essentially movies and stuff are like motion pictures. So it's just a bunch of pictures put together in order to make a fluid video. So yeah, I like videography because it conveys motion, but also conveys emotion better. Like you can see like the beginning to the end of the emotion. When you see someone smiling, usually in a picture, you just see the widest smile or like the peak of it. But when you see a video, you see the bottom point, the top of the bell curve, and then the ending. So I like videography because it captures the full emotions from beginning to end.
That was so well put and described, I must say. You mentioned at the beginning that you liked, when you first started doing photography, you liked doing still life captures, right? At this point in your passion of photography and videography, what are the things that you like to capture or shoot?
Currently, I'd say it's a more recent shift in terms of what I want to capture. More recently, I started shifting into getting back into, I guess, what I used to take pictures of, which is like nature, landscape, outdoors and stuff. So one of the things that I am currently, I guess, shifting my whole lifestyle to is also another passion of mine, which is cars. So I drive like a Subaru. Some people call it riced out, but I consider it my lifestyle or my personality being brought out into a physical manifestation, which is a car. But I want to shift over to a truck because I grew up with a truck because my dad drives a truck, but also because I'm so fascinated not only by a truck, but also by the capabilities that it can provide to me, which is going outdoors. And like one of the goals, I think, for this year is to sell my car, which I love a lot.
What?
To buy a truck in order for me to go outdoors more. So going, for example, to the Joshua Tree, into like the desert to capture astrophotography, the stars, the Milky Way, but also go into the mountains of like the Sierra Nevada, or even go up north to Redding, or even to like Oregon. I think that's so fascinating to me. Is like people who go overlanding, which is go out of civilization and go explore nature, and like just being able to capture that at the most raw place, which is in nature, away from people.
I love that. And I feel like, I mean, should you get a truck or should you get a camper van and become one of those camper van life people?
Yeah, yeah.
Is that like, I mean, if you did your journey with your truck, would you also like sleep in there and do all of that stuff? Or
I think that's definitely something that I would like to do.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this new journey that you just mentioned. Like, so thrilled about it.
Yeah, like it's probably like a more recent shift in my mindset, mostly because I found like a small group of people who I'm able to like share this common I guess new hobby with. And so because of that, it's like started to make me think like, ooh, like I kind of want to do this. Like I want to go into nature again. I want to do camping like I've used to done when I was a kid. Like back when I was little, my parents would take us camping like every year, multiple times in the summer, or like we would go to Lake Tahoe and go like snowboarding and stuff. So I was raised in a very nature-based environment, not really in like the tech-based environment that we are now. Although I enjoy it and it's like funding my hobbies, I would like to go back into nature. Sound like a wild man or something, but I want to like.
You're gonna be a Bear Grylls, just living in nature, building your own fire.
I don't want to drink my own pee. I think I'm so excited for it. I like nature. I want to capture stuff that I've like that only I can see, or like my eyes can see, because that was like one of the things that I've like learned, or like that's like one of my mantras. Because back to my high school teacher, he at the end of our senior year, he gave us a prompt, and he said, "I want you to write about why you do photography and what is like your mindset behind it, because that's ultimately going to drive you to do what you want to do, also drive you to develop your photography more." And so one of that was being able to share my perspective with other people, because that I think through my years of learning about myself and also developing is that I have a different perspective from people. And although that might feel isolating, that's also very special to me, because I know that God has placed this perspective in me, and that I think I would like to pursue that in order to share my perspective, whether it's like in photography or like hobbies and stuff like that.
I love that. It's like you're not scared to like be who you are and like to express that. And isn't it so funny how, I mean, we always kind of go back to our roots, right? Like when we, like even for me, like, you know, you grow up like doing certain things, and then in your growth process, you go and explore things, but you always kind of circle back to your roots. And in your case, it's kind of what you're saying about like growing up with your family, your dad, going outdoors for nature, and then kind of doing a full loop where you're like, hey, I kind of want to go back to exploring that again. Yeah.
It's like very similar to fashion, right? Where it's like a cyclical, just go back. What are we currently now is in more of the, I don't even know fashion, but like, weren't we in like the retro phase at one point, or like the bell bottom jeans?
Yes, I think right now we're in the 90s phase. And I'm here for it, because as a girl, like I love my platform shoes, so I'm excited.
I'm all for it. I like the style. Maybe not for me, but you know, for girls, like you do you. It looks good, whatever. I mean, what you just described are things that I aspire to. You mentioned that you found like a group of people that, you know, kind of share the same passion, where you guys can just go and shoot out. Like, have you guys talked about like actually doing it, and what is the first location that you guys would actually go do this at? In the capacity that you're talking about, like going out there, like living the land, shooting it through your perspective. Like, do you guys have your first destination picked out? Or even for yourself? There are a few places that I want to go personally. Let's see. I think in terms of the group, we talked about Pinnacles National Park. Some places that I want to go is living, or like just like visiting and staying in Yosemite National Park. I think that's a very good place to go. Joshua Tree is amazing as well. I also want to go to, I think, more of the unbeaten path, like probably up north into Redding. I think there's a lot more green there, and it's a lot more untouched there. Well, aside from the wildfires, unfortunately, but it's very green up there, and yeah, I'm all for it. I'm excited for it.
No, I'm so excited for you too. You know, it's so interesting to hear what you're saying, and you're even saying you're going to sell your car, because I do know you as a car person too, and you've gone through a couple iterations of your souped up cars. So what was that like to be like, hey, I put in so much effort into one thing, but all of a sudden I found, like, is it so easy just to be like, hey, I'm just switching gears, or was that a little bit of a like, oh, this was my thing, and should I really switch it? Should I really sell it?
Let's just say that I began thinking about this in January of selling my car. I'm still trying to get over. I'm still trying to get over the hump of accepting that fact. But I just, like you said, I put in so much work. It's like the sunken cost fallacy, or like bias. Like I want to keep the car because of all of the time, all of the energy, all of the mistakes that I've learned from it, and it's definitely hard for me to overcome. Ideally, like in my dream world, I want to keep both of it, because I want one that like is
For the city,
yeah,
and the
yeah,
other
yeah,
one for
yeah.
nature.
Yeah. I want one like, I can play around with in the weekend, but I also want one where I can like go past where my car can't go. Like my car's low, so I can't go into the mountains. I can't go into like hilly areas. I can't go into the gravel. So everything, yeah, I want the best of both worlds. But I guess in this imperfect world, I can't really do that.
Can I ask what truck you're going to get? And I mean, obviously, I have to ask this because we're in California. You're going to get an electric truck, but at the same time, I think I already know the answer. That's not going to fly in nature. But what are you thinking about getting as like a car person?
Yeah, electric trucks aren't the thing for me, especially if you want to go out into an isolated area. It wouldn't make sense to get an electric car because you're on the grid and you want to be off the grid. But in terms of the truck that I'm looking at, I want to get like a Toyota Tacoma. It's like the classic truck that I think a lot of people get to do the thing that I want to do, which is like going out into some sort of nature or some outdoorsy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad grew up with the Toyota 4Runner, which is somewhat equivalent to the Tacoma, which is a pickup truck. It's just a enclosed version of the truck.
Yeah. We had a 4Runner too. And, I hear those are popular cars even now.
Very
like people
much.
love them.
Yeah, even though like the whole gas thing is so expensive, like there's like a cult following for Toyotas, and the trucks and 4Runners. They're like, oh, there's the thing. Like, if you're driving a Toyota Tacoma, you shouldn't be caring about the gas mileage or the miles per gallon and stuff like that. It's all about the happiness, not about like the miles per gallon.
Yeah. Have you shared with your dad your new aspirations? I mean, I'm sure he'd be really proud to hear that, right? Because he's also a trucker, and he was the one that kind of brought you outdoors. Like, have you shared this new passion with him?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, what is his reaction? I want to know.
He's smiling. He's like, oh yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he also owns a truck too, and he's taken us to a lot of different like camping trips with it. And I'm sure not a lot of people know this, but my dad used to own a trailer that you can live in. So we'll take that and then go camping or glamping.
Yeah, that's so cool. You are your dad's son then. Huh?
Yeah. So he's like all for it because like I think eventually he wants to transition out of a truck into either a car or like an SUV or something, because he wants to, I think he wants something different, but also he wants something that has better gas mileage. For him, it's like, well, his car is like from 2003. His truck's from 2003. So the miles per gallon is like 11 or something like that, compared to like the one I want, which is like maybe 20-ish or so.
Yeah.
So it's like you still get fairly good mileage for the truck, but you can also take it to where you need to go, which is like more of the unbeaten path.
Yeah. So previously in your like photo journey as a photographer and even videographer for like us and other things, you shared your photos, right? Like through Instagram or a website, etc. With this new venture that you have, is this for yourself personally? Do you plan to share those journeys, or is it just more of a self thing?
I think my mindset of photos or like what I create has always been for my own enjoyment. So I think that when like the whole Instagram thing and like sharing your photos first started, it wasn't something that I was like accustomed to, and I still don't feel accustomed to it. I'll just like take pictures for myself. I'm like, I like it. Like I'll keep it for myself, or I'll like make my phone wallpaper or something like that. So I think I think in an ideal world, and if I was following my mantra or like what I believe in sharing my perspective, I should do that. But I'm not good at it because I just enjoy taking pictures for myself. So if I were to like take pictures for like different clients, or if I was like doing portraits, of course I would share it with people. But in terms of like sharing on social media, I wouldn't say I'm like the best at it. And I think a lot of the times where I see a good image or something that I want to capture, I don't necessarily capture it, and I just think like, this is like my mental photo album. Like I'm just gonna keep this for myself because I enjoy it, but also it's like, oh, this is like my moment to share with God. And I would say I have a lot of those experiences, but if I want to follow in my mantra of sharing my perspective, that's something I need to get better at. Over COVID, I like just dropped off. Like I don't even post anymore because I was like, oh, whatever. Like there's like no point in it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No, I feel that. But I definitely think that there are things that can be shared, and there also can be things that you keep for yourself. And that's, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I think, so you're somebody that I feel like has passions, and I'm floored by this camper van trucking idea. I'm like so excited for you about that. But I know you started with like a passion for photography, the video, developing into media, and now this new and then cars and guns, and then now developing into this new thing. For somebody who has a lot of passions in their lives or things that they want to try, like how would you encourage them to cultivate those passions in their lives?
I think the first step is like if maybe you have a lot of things you want to try, you just try it. You do it. Like I remember listening to like Gary Vee. He's just like, you're in your 20s, you're young, just try everything until you can find something that sticks and that you like it. And that's when you know like this is something you have to continue doing. So I would say like try everything, like figure out what you like. And then when you figure out what you like, just continue investing in it. But more importantly, find people who have the similar passions so that you can invest collectively. Because I think when you are doing your passions or like your hobbies with other people, it drives you in a like intrinsically competitive state where you can continue to pursue it even more and like grow even more, or like even like maybe even like subconsciously you're like trying to one up each other in like what you do, whether it's like taking photos or I don't know, like sports or something like that. You have this competitive nature, and I think it helps you grow as well. So I think that's really important, is finding people who share the same hobbies or passions and then growing collectively towards it. Whether you need to find like multiple groups with different passions, because not one group has all the passions that you have, but I think finding different groups of people to do different things is not only good for developing your passion, but it's also good at developing your personal traits or your like characteristics.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
oh my gosh, beyond.
So
I mean, I feel like you're somebody that's actually very community driven, and I feel like there's so many different ways you could answer that question. But for you to say that, hey, it's actually important for you to like surround yourself with like-minded people, like that's I think that's a really good answer. And I think most people don't do that because they're like, oh, I'm just doing my own thing. But you're saying, no, like, let's just like do it together, learn together, and pursue those things together.
And I'm definitely like guilty of that. I was like, I just do things myself.
Yeah.
Like I still do a lot of things myself. But in terms of like when I find people with similar hobbies, I'll intentionally go out of my way in order to include other people. Because I know, like Pastor Tony says, like none of us are like an island. Like we're all in this together.
Followed by a fist pump.
Oh yes.
We're in this together.
I think it's so important.
Yeah, totally. So I know that at New Wave, you guys have do you guys have a group that like goes and shoots around and stuff?
Yeah, we do. It's with my media team. I think that's actually how we became closer, and I think how I would say like how the team developed is that we began to go out to like different locations to take pictures, and through that we were able to grow closer together in friendship, but also in learning how each of us shoots. What's our like strengths, maybe what's our weaknesses, or even like how we see our perspective in different things. Like, well, I'll like shout them out again, like Michael, Sam,
Michael,
Albert.
Sam.
Like we'll like go out and shoot in different locations all over like the South Bay, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Palo Alto. Sometimes we'll go all the way up to like San Francisco, to like Land's End or the Presidio, or just like different areas, and we'll just go and like take pictures. And it's just so interesting to see what other people see. Like maybe you'll see, for example, you're in downtown, you see this flower. Maybe I'll shoot it in a more close, like very up close way to get the like the detail shots. And then maybe like Michael will like shoot through branches or something in order to kind of like frame the flower to where your eyes are drawn towards it. And then like maybe Sam would be a little bit more like streety or like straight on, or even like the editing is like a lot different. Like mine is a little bit more ethereal or like lighter, and then Michael's is a little bit more like dark and high contrast, and then Sam is like a little bit more of the, I think like the shadows or like the blacks are a little bit more boosted, so it looks a little bit more like, the best way I can describe it is like hipstery or like street.
Yeah.
Like that.
I love that. So it's like everybody has a different perspective, even though we're like shooting, looking at the same thing.
Yep.
And everyone's like personality comes out.
Yeah, and we're always looking for more people to shoot with.
Open call.
Oh yeah, open call if you want to come and shoot. Like, just let me know, let Michael know, let Sam know, and then we'll like figure something out. Yeah, I think that's. I would like to see more people getting into photography, not only like as a business, but also like as your own, like something that you want to do for yourself, whether you're sharing or you want to take pictures to print to put in your house. I think that it's like perceived as really daunting, and it's perceived as like photographers are like really judgmental. Like if you start and you show your pictures, it's sort of like showing your soul, and people are gonna like judge and like, oh, that's so ugly, like blah blah blah. But like I think nowadays it's like who cares, you know? It's like very similar to like when you go to the gym. When you first start, you feel like everyone's looking at you.
Totally.
But then as you get into it, as you are like more of like a veteran, you realize, oh, nobody's caring about me because they're caring about themselves. They're thinking about like the veterans, they're thinking about like, oh, like why didn't I do this lift well, or like why am I doing this wrong? Like people are thinking about themselves more than they're thinking about other people. Sure, there are like some people who like look at other people or like they think about other people, but for the most part, people care about themselves more than they care about other people. And I think that in gymming, same way as photography, you know, you just got to go and you got to do it. You got to like not care about what other people think. There's always gonna be haters, but there's gonna be a vast more of appreciators than there are haters.
Love it. Thank you so much, Alex, for spending time with me, and just kind of it's been really great to just hear about like your personal passion for photography, your journey, what you're turning that into, and also just how you're able to build a community around yourself with the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me on the couch today.
Of course, I enjoyed it.
Thank you.